Okay, so in this video, what we're going to look at is changing some of the alignments of the text that is inside the shirt info, and we're going to space out these images, these cards, these product cards, a little bit more evenly across the rows. So what we're going to do is we're going to change our flex basis on our shirt card. We're going to change that to 29%. The reason why I am starting it off at 29% is because I'm allowing it to grow. So I know it'll fill in the space. So it's essentially when it displays here, because it's taking up the full width of the container, 100% of the container, it is essentially filling at 33.333% of width. But I do want it to start at 29%. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to add some margin to the left and right side so that I can get some space in between the cards. Okay, just like that. Okay, so now we have that. I also want to have some space in between the rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to put on every shirt card, I'm going to put a margin bottom. Let's do 20. Let's keep it the same. Let's do 15 pixels. Okay, now we can see that it looks a little bit too close. Let's try 30 pixels, because that's essentially what we're doing with the space in between. We have 15 pixels on the right of this card and 15 pixels on the left of this card. So in total you have 30. So we can have 30 in between the top of the next row, and that way they're a little bit more in sync together. Okay, so now that we have some spacing here, what I want to do is demonstrate some of these alignment flex properties that you can use to uh, force content to line up the way you want. If you're wanting to kind of put space in between them, or we're also going to look at flex direction, which will allow us to change the direction, the flow of the content within a flex container. So we're going to make a few adjustments here. So I'm just going to expand one of these shirt cards that you can see. Okay, so we have a shirt card here, and right now the shirt card is a flex item inside of the shirts container. Okay, the shirts container is the one that has display flex on it. The shirt card does not have a display flex, but it is a child of a container that has display flex on it. So um, that's this rule here on line 34. And so the shirt card is a flex item. Now, just being a flex item doesn't mean that it can't also be um, a flexible container. So you can do that as well if you want to have the text on wrap over to the right side of uh, the image. You can do that. What I'm going to do actually is place it on the shirt info. Okay, because what I want to have is I want to have the title on the left, then I want to have the pricing on the right hand side here. So what I'm going to do is on line 50 here, I'm going to put for my class shirt info, if I can spell it, and I'm going to add display flex. Okay, so now we see that contents within my shirt info, the immediate children, so that would be the H3 and the H4. These spans here are actually children of the H4. Okay, so now the H3 and the H4 are flex items inside of this shirt info. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply justify content. This is what will allow us to apply some spacing, some automatic spacing with using the Flexbox concepts we're going to apply some spacing along the main axis, which is the direction of the flow of content here. So by default, a flex container has a flex direction of rho, which is why these two children, the H3 and the H4, line up together in the same row. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, for my justified content, I'm going to add a value of space between. So that will split them apart. Then what I'm going to do is, even though that my H3 and H4 are flex items, I'm going to make the H4 a flex container. So here I target my H4 that is within the shift info. Maybe I have another H4 somewhere else on the page. I want to be very specific and say that it's the H4 that's within the shirt info, and I'm going to give it a display of flex. And we see nothing's really changed here, and that's mainly because the default is flex direction is rho, and these two things, because they're spans, they have they already appear on the same row. So what I'm going to do is apply a flex direction of column. And you see that they line up underneath each other like that. And I'm going to use another property, another property called align items, and with a value of flex end. So what align items does, and you may think that it has done the same thing as our justify content that we had in the shirt info, but what it's actually doing is something very similar to justify content. Okay, justify content, you can have the value of flex end as well, and it moves things to the end of the row depending on what the direction is. And in this case, yes, the row is towards the right. Now, because my H4 is now also a flex container, I can apply and dictate what the direction of the contents are within that flex container. So in this container, I have specified that the flex direction should be a column. So I want the content within my flex container, these two spans, to flow in the same direction as a column, so up to down, okay? And now align items allows you to control how the content is displayed along the cross axis. The flex direction helps you determine and state what the main axis of flow of content should be, and the cross axis is always going to be opposite to the main axis. The cross axis here is now running left to right, and that's why when I use my align items, I can state that I want these items to align towards the right hand side by using flex end. Now, if I use justify content here, you may not see very much of a change, but you won't see the change because this container, the shirt info itself, the height of it is currently dictated by those two spans. Okay, the full height of it is dictated by the two spans that are inside our H4, right? Which is why you don't see it. Okay. Now, line items works along the cross axis, right? Okay, which means that if our shirt info is also a flex container, we can control how these are placed along the cross axis. Right now, the main axis is the row, which means it moves from left to right, and the cross axis is vertical. So let's demonstrate the align items here, and we'll say flex end, and now you can see that because align items tells our flex items how to align along the cross axis, I've said I want it to align on the bottom using flex end. Because it starts from the top and ends on the bottom, we want it to align to the end, which is on the bottom. If we do flex start, you can see it goes to the top. Okay. Let's go back to what we had here. Sorry, justify content with a value of space between. You saw that there's an option for space around. Space around puts space around each flex item. What I want is space between for now. Okay, we have that. And let's align these items in the center here. So now I have my my H3 here is lined up along the center vertically, and these two items here are aligned to the left, to the right, and this is how I want it, like this. Okay. Now we can see that as we change our browser size, these scale up, and if we get smaller, they'll redistribute themselves, be even like that. Okay, and that's it for this video. I'll show next steps on creating our filter section and having that work with our product cards section here.